War Eagle War Rapport family, I'm your host C-Dub, and we have plenty to discuss on today's show. Auburn falls short in yesterday's Iron Bowl matchup with Alabama in 4 overtimes, and we're going to be here to discuss it. Mike G, Ike Jones will break it down with me as we give our grades, our University Ace Hardware tools of the game, as well as discuss what else we saw around college football on Saturday, as well as the whole weekend. So, guys, sit back, get your weight up, because your weekend tailgate starts right now.
You are now listening to a War Rapport Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by University Ace Hardware. It's your boy, Ike Jones. Be Will. C-Dog. Mike G. Get ready. Sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle, happy Sunday. Thanks for tuning in to the latest weekend tailgate brought to you by our good friends at University Ace Hardware. For your hardware needs, Ace is the place for you. And if you just so happen to be in the Auburn area, please be sure to stop by 2101 East University Drive. Drop in and let them know that your friends at the War Rapport sent you. Also, guys, if you're here, help us grow our community. You know what to do. Share this video on social media. Use hashtag #GetYourWeightUp. If you're sharing on Twitter, add us at the War Rapport. Help people find our content and help us grow our community. Now, Mike G, tell the people what they need to be going into this offseason, sir.
Listen, becoming an insider. So as we start to get into the season, you guys are going to start to see we're restricting a lot of our content to insider only. So you definitely want to become an insider and be a part of what is the greatest Auburn community on the internet, on YouTube, anywhere you go. We got some exciting updates coming for you guys. Become an insider to get access to that. Tomorrow night, Ike and I will be breaking down the Iron Bowl film. Was hoping we'd be breaking down the win, but we are breaking down what we discussed today was a pretty epic 4 overtime loss. We're going to take a look at everything that happened, that should have happened, that could have happened, and that's going to be insider only, so don't miss that. Guys, we are partnered with the Lee County Humane Society. We are working with them to raise money for a good cause. So 50 cents on every dollar goes to the Lee County Humane Society to help them in their mission to save all the puppies. So if you see me on Twitter, I'm campaigning to get people to donate. Listen, this is a great thing to do. We want to use our platform for good. You guys can help us. Go to the About section of our YouTube channel. You'll find the link to this GoFundMe. Again, 50 cents on every dollar goes to them to help them in their mission to save all the puppies. As always, is the tradition, we're giving away a free t-shirt, hashtag #GetYourWeightUp. This is brought to you by GWT2 Energy. That's our guy, Walt Taylor, in the comments. One of our biggest supporters and sponsors. He's bringing you guys these giveaways every week. Hashtag #GetYourWeightUp in the comments to enter that drawing at the 1 hour mark. We'll let you know who won. If you don't win the drawing, you can just buy a t-shirt and support us that way. Visit the About section of our YouTube channel. You'll find a link to our merch store, or you can just visit www.thewarrapport.com, and that will take you straight there. So you guys can go do that. Last but not least, I want to thank our betting sponsor, BUSR. Bet with confidence at BUSR, BUSR.com/rapport. Please visit that address. Every account you guys sign up for helps us with our sponsors. Support us by helping us support our sponsors, whether you place 1 bet a year or 100 bets a day. BUSR.com/rapport to get in the mix and help the War Rapport.
Thank you, sir. It's a day later. Very disappointed. You know, I don't think there's no way you can lose a game where you're not disappointed when it comes to the Iron Bowl or just when it comes to Auburn football. But I must say, man, I'm so proud of those guys for playing so hard in all phases of the game. I salute TJ Finley for basically playing on one leg for the duration of the game, for being a warrior. I'm also proud of just a lot of guys who stepped up and played their hearts out. And it just, again, it makes those losses so much tougher. But Mike G, you didn't get a chance to really speak in depth because you were on ground level. You were in the press box. You were covering the game, and you had a pretty interesting. You had a pretty interesting evening. So kind of share your thoughts about the game and some things that are on your mind.
You're watching from the press box. The tension was palpable, man. You could feel it in the stadium, and a lot of people were like, "We got to stop Bama because if we go to overtime, nobody liked our chances in the overtime." The fact that we got to 4 overtimes, I thought was impressive because I thought we would lose it in the first overtime. So TJ Finley, kudos to him gutting it out. It can't be understated. I didn't get a chance to say it in the post game, but congratulations to Bama on a great comeback. I thought that Bryce Young showed a lot of grit. I think he got sacked 8 times in that game. We sacked him, I think, 8 times in that game. So somebody can double check me on that stat. But that's the stuff champions are made of. That last drive where he drove his team down the field to get the game to overtime and just executed at a high level. So it was a good game. I picked us to lose that game. That was definitely more than I was expecting. So in the post game presser, I did kind of put it on coaching. We've talked a lot about coaching over the last few weeks, and I asked Coach, I said, "Hey, listen, you've had a rough stretch over the last 4 or 5 games here in second halves. From a coaching standpoint, how do you get this turned around with play calling and preparation and coaching?" He talked about taking a look at the season in review and what things they can do better, which is a totally valid answer. I put him on the spot, right after what was probably a gut-wrenching loss. But it was just interesting listening to him. And then I had an interesting interaction later on my way out. I actually got a one-on-one with him after the postgame. And guys, Brian Harston is not going anywhere. I won't share exactly what he said to me, but I'll tell you this coach is in it. So rumors to Washington, be damned. He wants to be here. He wants to build this program. He understands that 6-6 is not acceptable. It's not a solid year. Verbatim, straight from his mouth. This wasn't good enough. This is what they were aiming for. But there are bumps in the road along the way to success, which he also acknowledged to me. And then, he thanked me when you guys joke about me getting banned from these press conferences. When I walked up to him, his right-hand man, who we know well, Bradley LaRondo, introduced me and said, "Hey, Coach, this is Michael Gittins." And as soon as he heard my name, he smirked. And I knew what that smirk was about because he remembers me from the press conferences on Mondays and post games. But he was very gracious talking to me. I thought he showed just a great amount of respect. You could tell he was very sobered and taking in what has been probably a shock of a first season for him. Because you can hear about it, but being here and going through a whole season in the SEC, I'm sure was a bit of shock to his system. Highly competitive, 13 teams bowl eligible. It's as competitive as it's ever been. So, he experienced that. He had now at the end, in his first year, he inherited the hardest schedule in college football. I don't think anybody's arguing whether the Texas or the Penn State non-conference game was a tougher game. The way Texas has ended their season, we had the tougher non-conference game. We had the hardest schedule in college football. We played a lot of close games. And the glass half full, the belief is that they have truly, from a culture standpoint, laid a foundation for the future. This coach believes it. His staff believes it. A lot of the players believe it. So that belief is something I think they can build on going into the offseason. And, hopefully that translates to us winning those close games next year rather than losing.
You're on mute, C.
You're on mute.
My bad. Well said, Ike. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling, man?
Listen, I'm still just as proud of the effort that the team gave. I am very, people get upset when I get upset at fans. I'm very disappointed in some of the fan reactions and calling for people's jobs again. I as much as I feel like coaching was responsible for the downfall in these last few games, I'm still not ready to ask somebody to hand in a resignation or walk away from the job. I, you know, I want to see them see this thing through at least 1 year, one full off season, one full fall, spring, all of that, right? Before I'm ready to say, okay, yeah, something's got to change here. I do think some changes need to happen, but I don't think anybody needs to get fired just yet. But I don't think that what we've seen thus far is indicative of what we will see in the future. At least I hope not, as a fan of the team. But what I definitely am feeling right now is a sense of, all right, cool, we got through the first one. Now let's figure out where we're going from here. The comments that Mike G spoke of when talking to Coach Harsin definitely give me some peace of mind about, the coach has, at least in his mind, said, all right, I know this isn't enough, and I'm ready to get back to work to get it to where I know that we can be. And that's really all we can ask for right now. And hopefully, he doesn't really need patience from the fans, because the fans don't dictate whether he gets to stay or not. But I hope the administration, whatever state that it's in, continues to use a little bit of patience so we can get this thing figured out.
Agreed. Well, listen, let's go ahead and get into the first segment. And let's talk about the University Ace Hardware tools of the game.
The University Ace Hardware. Tools to the game.
Mine, of course, we can talk about coaching. Having watched this game again, I would have to say that the tool to the game here was clock management. Getting to the end of the game, of course, Tank, who's just a warrior, who's fighting for yards, ends up going out of bounds. I think we were a little under 2 minutes left. It was 3rd and 2. And the staff made it clear that they wanted the goal here was to get Bama to burn their last time out. We're kicking the ball back to Bama. Bama sold out to stop the run. We handed it off to Tank. He gets stopped behind the line of scrimmage. We end up punting the ball, pinning them deep. But that tells me that if the objective is to bleed clock and get Bama to burn its timeouts, then, and again, I wasn't in the huddle. I don't know what was communicated. But you have to tell your players that, listen, the win here is to bleed clock. We're not trying to get a first down. I don't care who's up in the middle. Get down. Get tackled. We're here to burn clock. Bama should get the ball with less than a minute. When Tank got us into short yardage situation, we had an opportunity to do something there. We had an opportunity to reward the defense by hanging on to the football. They had pretty much done their job throughout that game up until that point. So if that's not your goal, your players have to have the situational awareness to understand that we can't get out of bounds. You're a fighter, but that's not what we're doing now. Shoot, give it to Finley and let them kneel. Give it snap it to someone and they'll kneel it. You just want to burn clock. And I think that giving Bama the ball, and I mentioned it yesterday, it felt like the national championship game some years ago when we gave the opposing team way too much time to go the length of the field. Our defense had been playing lights out, but listen, you can't expect to hold that offense. With the struggles throughout the year, you can't expect to hold that offense to 3 points in the game. So I just think that if you have an opportunity, you have to manage that clock correctly and in a way to where you don't give Bama a lot of time. I mean, so for me, that was a big part of how that game unfolded. No one felt comfortable about our chances. Mike G, you alluded, you didn't think we was going to get out of the first overtime, let alone 4. So you have to manage the clock better and make certain decisions and make sure everyone understands what they're supposed to be doing when they march out on the field. Ike, what's yours?
University Ace Hardware tool to the game for me. Man, I hate to keep harping on this, but I will say it was specifically management of the quarterback position. I don't like how we initially had the quarterback being used even before TJ Finley got hurt. I definitely don't like how he was used after he was hurt. And to me, that was the difference in us winning and losing this game, is that I think, the offensive game plan was clear that we were going to run the ball. That's fine. I just didn't see enough counter off of that commitment to the run and enough play action stuff. We didn't even really start going under center with TJ until he got hurt, right? Like, we weren't showing, okay, we're going to run the ball down your throat, line up, I formation, up. Nope, just kidding. It's a play action with something, right? Like, we just didn't do stuff like that enough, I don't think, to put TJ in a position where he could be successful. And this is what I mean by we've got to figure something else out with how we're calling plays. The play designs and the call plays, I just don't think benefited the way that game went. And then once TJ got hurt, it just went downhill from there. So just management of the quarterback position in general, I think, should have been better.
Mike G, what's your University Ace hardware tool to the game?
My University Ace hardware tool to the game, because I expected us to lose worse than we did, and we didn't, was pass defense. The amount of defended passes in this game was remarkable and completely unexpected. Roger McCreary, can we all just agree he had a game? Yeah. Roger McCreary had a game. Jalen Simpson had some pretty good defended passes out there. And this was statistically Jalen Hurts. Bryce Young's worst game of the year. He went 49% passing in this game. His adjusted completion percentage was only 62.2%. Right? Finley's was 65 and 69. Now, he had to throw the ball. They had to come back, so he threw the ball a lot more than Finley did. But, he had 39. He was 22 for 39. It was just, to me, it was, I'm looking at what he did, what Bryce Young did, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, I expected him to have a much better game than he had. Now, he did what winners do in the fourth quarter. So if you're sitting here talking to Bama, I'm sure they're not harping on what happened in the fourth quarter of that game. But, it was pass defense that kept us in it. Defended passes, I think a lot of fans would have said that pass defense was our weakness going into this one and our biggest worry. So being able to generate a pass rush on him as well, too, until we review a whole season of tape, like, I don't want to speculate on why we haven't been able to do that to other quarterbacks, but I think that that's a legitimate question that fans are going to be asking. How all of a sudden at the last game of the year can we suddenly generate a pass rush? Like, why weren't we sending the guys more often? And would that have turned the tide in some of these games where we failed to reach 20 points or 25 points? Again, film will tell the story there, but this defense has played great in stretches this year. I thought this was another great stretch for them where they had a great showing, and we just needed to – it's college football. We just got to score points to win. That's it. You sustain a couple more drives. Tank not going down, not staying inbounds at all costs to make them burn that last time out. It was a rookie move. There's no other way to put it. Right now, I know a lot of people are saying he got pulled out of bounds. That should not have even come into play there. Right. So I'm not on that train. I don't think you can really make excuses for that play. There were some bad officiating calls, but ultimately our defense is the reason that we were able to stay in this one for as long as we did. And they just they came up one drive short of the W. One drive short. So offensively, we've got to find a way to help them, but defense is my tool to the game.
Since you mentioned defense, man, can we just take time to appreciate Derek Hall and the game he had yesterday?
Oh, man.
Can we just take time to just talk about how he just had real estate in Alabama's backfield and just disrupted so much of what they were trying to do?
Yeah. TD Moultrie as well.
Moultrie as well.
Yeah,
Moultrie as well.
Hall,
Leota was getting pressure. So
yeah, and that was even without blitzes sometimes. Like that was them just beating a guy upfield,
Right.
relentless effort, blocked initially stuff. They were relentless on that defensive line. This wasn't all blitz generated pressure. This
Right.
was some guys just getting after it, and yeah, props to them.
Yeah, Derek. I see somebody said Jersey D in BM says that he hopes Derek Hall stays around. His statement on Twitter this morning made it sound like he's coming back for another year. And he was just like, "Hey, listen, we're built." He said something to the effect of, "This is just the beginning. We appreciate all the fans. You know, watch out for Auburn football in the future." And I just think that to me sounds like a statement that he plans on being a part of it. So hopefully we can get him back.
I got a few questions defensively that I may pose to you, Ike, especially when we get into discussing grades. I'm just curious to just see, just moving forward based off of what we saw. Like we know Alabama's O-line has been spotty in pass pro throughout the year, and one of the things I mentioned on Wednesday's show when we had Mick on, it was they've given up a lot of sacks already. So just moving forward, do we see a different type of defense? But we can definitely discuss that as we get later on into the show. But guys, we definitely want to hear from you. If you're watching us live, some of you guys are already mentioning it. Those of you who are watching live, we appreciate you for doing that. But if you happen to watch us on the replay, you have thoughts about this. What was your tool to the game? Be sure to leave it in the comments. We definitely read up on it and get your thoughts on that as well. So this is a reminder that you are watching the Weekend Tailgate. We pause to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Rapport.
The War Rapport's Weekend Tailgate Show is brought to you by our generous sponsors. University Ace Hardware, located at 2101 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama, right across the street from the Auburn Mall and next to the movie theater. For all of your hardware needs, Ace is the place. Our betting partner, BUSR. Bet with confidence at busr.com/report. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to auburnsports.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2energy.com.
Mike G, what you got for us, man?
Listen, become an insider. If you're watching this and you're wondering, why you can't comment, as our community grows, so does the things that we're doing for you guys, and also so does the trolls. So to help kind of maximize in your experience as a War Rapport subscriber, we're making some things insider only. Please join our community. This is the best way to support our content. We put a lot of time and effort into the content in the off season. I told Coach Harsin, actually, when I was talking to him guys last night, that we're the hardest working content creators January to July. Nobody's putting out more content than us. That takes time. Your support will help us be able to do that at a higher level. So we appreciate everybody who joins as an insider. Just $3.99 a month to be a supporter, $5.99 to be an insider. Appreciate everybody who's going to go over and do that. Easy way to support us. We're partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to help raise money for a good cause. So if you want to do something for a good cause, head to the About section of our YouTube channel and click on the GoFundMe link. Donate 50 cents on every dollar goes to the Lee County Humane Society to help them in their mission to save puppies. I have a rescue animal myself. My dog is everything to me. We want to help other people find that sort of joy. So donate there, help us help them. If you missed it at the top of the broadcast, hashtag get your weight up in the comments. This is brought to you by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. That's our guy, Walt Taylor, in the comments. You guys know Walt. He's bringing you guys these giveaways every live. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments to enter at the 1 hour mark. We're going to draw for the winner. Again, if you don't win, you can just buy a t-shirt and support us that way. So head to thewarrapport.com and it'll take you straight to our merch store, or you can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel as well. We're on a podcast. So if you like listening to the War Rapport in the car, or while you're mowing the lawn, or while you're taking a bubble bath, not judging, War Rapport on podcast. You can find us on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Podbean. We're everywhere. And so growing this form of our content is also really important to help extend our reach so that we can bring you guys even more content. Go over there, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a 3-star review, whatever you feel. We'll take it. We love feedback here at the War Rapport, so I appreciate everybody who's going to do that. And then last but not least, shout out to our betting partner, BUSR. Bet with confidence at busr.com/rapport. Please use this link specifically when you sign up. When you guys sign up for an account, it keeps our sponsors on board with the greatest community in college football on YouTube. And we want to be able to bring you more content. BUSR support helps us do that, but we got to have people sign up for accounts. It doesn't matter how often you bet. Just as long as you sign up for an account, they see people signing up, it helps us. So go do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and discuss grades with the War Report card, Iron Bowl edition. So let's go ahead and start first. First and foremost, let's. I think we did it like this last week. Let's start with special teams.
Okay.
Special teams. We had a punt return, 2 for 20 yards, total 20 yards. We had a kick return, 1 for 23 yards. It was a lot of punting going on in this game. Okay. 10 punts for 427 yards on our part. Ben Patton actually went 2 for 2 for 37 and a 49-yarder. The 49-yarder was actually in one of the overtimes. I believe it was the second overtime. Mm-hmm. So for special teams, I've been hard on them. I've been tough on them. Yeah. I'm pretty much going to give them an A+ here. I'm just going to give them an A+ because there's a lot to like about what they did. We give our kudos to the defense, but they definitely played their part in helping us to win field position. It was good to see Evan McGuire out there on kickoffs. He was booming them in the back of the field, of the end zone. Evan. And the time that he didn't boom it in the back of the field, the kickoff coverage was amazing.
It was high, too.
Yeah. So we got down there, and I think Bama started their drive at like the 10-yard line. Ben Patton, we gave him a lot of crap. We gave him a lot of hard time. And see, listen, we keep the same energy, man. We gonna give you love when you do good. And the 49-yarder, I'll be honest, when it was time to kick the field goal, I didn't see it, but he boomed it, accurate, did a good job. Kudos to him. Our punter, he's a sophomore.
Yeah, man.
I'm happy. I am so happy.
Yeah.
Good thing punters don't leave early for the draft.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, Oscar Chapman, kudos to you, man. And you had several kicks, not just one or two. You had several kicks where you pinned Bama deep. Javarius Johnson, his first night out doing punt returns. He had an amazing return. I believe he returned it to the Bama 25, I believe. Mm-hmm. So special teams just did their job in swinging the field position, setting our offense up. They did what was asked of them. You couldn't expect them to do more than what they did. They were great in pretty much every phase of the game. Mike G, what are your thoughts on special teams? What's your grade?
Ditto to all that. Listen, I had zero faith in Ben Patton. I had less than zero faith in Ben Patton going into this game, and he went out there and nailed a 49-yarder in the Iron Bowl. Now, on the sack that TJ took, where he kind of took us, quote unquote, out of field goal range, I wonder if Ben couldn't have made that kick too, because it would have been like a 51-yarder. Yeah, where TJ went down. So maybe we should have attempted that one.
He could have, but I feel like when he made that field goal, you had no choice but to kick a field goal.
Yeah, listen, if Carlson is in the game,
right,
then you attempt that field goal.
Right.
And all I will say is this underscores the importance of having your backups ready to go so that you do not have to employ a different game strategy in basic game situations. You need a kicker who can come in and do what your starter does at every position. I know it's difficult to kicker, but I don't think they managed it particularly well last week. I think they did it a lot better this week by taking him off of kickoffs because it was clear that's not his forte. Evan McGuire put a couple in the end zone, and the one that didn't reach the end zone, it had so much hang time on it that the guys were able to run under and cover. That's why the coverage was so good. They hung it up. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you fair catch inside the 25, they automatically move it to the 25, right?
That's correct.
Right. So I was shocked that he just didn't call a fair catch. That was definitely a mistake on the Bama returner's part. But yeah, I'm giving special teams an A. It's the only special teams gaffe was Shedrick Jackson standing in the end zone. And then after he called it, he was like, "Oh, I'm in the end zone." that was it. That was the only special teams gaffe of the night. And we actually saw a punt return, as you underscored, from Javaris Johnson that was good. They pulled D-Rob off. I thought that was the right decision as well. So special teams definitely made it difficult on Bama to run the score up. Like, we gave them long fields and not short fields.
Right.
And giving South Carolina short fields is what I think lost us that game. So kudos to special teams. You know what? Listen, 2 backup kickers got to play in this one.
And both of them did really well.
In the Iron Bowl. So big shout out to Evan McGuire for getting there on kickoffs and not kicking any out of bounds or doing anything crazy. And to Ben, he nailed to 2 of them. You just got to give him credit. He made the field goals. There's no ifs, or buts about it as a kicker. Either you make it or you don't. He made it.
Right. Ike?
Yeah, I'm going to go a solid A as well. We did have the one penalty on the first kickoff return from Caleb.
That was bogus.
Yeah, it was, listen.
That was bogus.
We can talk about bogus calls all day. Like I said, the same thing I said about South Carolina, I'll say, but I can put together a whole reel of just calls where I was like, But at least in this time, we got a couple of calls favorably going in our direction as well. So I'm not going to beef with the refs too much. I just think that the timing of some of those calls that we got hurt our momentum. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about special teams. Big props to everybody who's out there. Let me just pause and say, as a person who was adamantly against running backs who could get significant snaps returning kicks, Jarquez Hunter might end up being special on kickoff returns.
Yeah.
Because he's like one broken tackle a lot away from taking one to the house.
Facts.
And he does not go down easily, ever. Like,
Right.
It takes 2 or 3 people to bring him down in any scenario, whether that's him running the ball or him on a kick return. Because he gets through and breaks through tackles effortlessly. Like, he just shrugs off tackles and keeps moving. So props to Jarquez Hunter for just being a strong-willed running back that is going to be determined to make you have to tackle him. He's not going to just go down. Javaris Johnson, really good in punt return duty. Definitely glad to see him back. He was there earlier in the year. If you guys remember, he got hurt on a punt return situation, I think in the Alabama State or Akron game. It was either the first or the second game. He twisted a knee or something super early. And he had been off of that duty. I think they were trying to protect him from just something fluke happening on that, but this D-Rob wasn't getting it done as far as just getting up and fielding kicks the way that he needed to, and he definitely doesn't have the wiggle to be a punt returner. So good decision bringing him. So, we talk about coaching decisions. That was a good coaching decision to bring Javarius Johnson back and place him in that position. But yeah, you guys have already talked about punting. Punting has been stellar all year. Was stellar again. He shanked one, right? So again, that's the only reason I'm not A+. We got the penalty on Newton. We got the gaff by Shed, and we got the one shanked punt. The only reason this isn't an A+ is because that small nitpick for me. But a solid A for special teams. Couldn't have asked for more from that group. We didn't have any disasters coming back the other direction, and we avoided most of the disastrous things in our direction. No blocked kicks. We didn't block any of theirs, but we did have the situation where they did have the bobbled snap, and we got on top of that pretty quickly on their their field goal that they attempted where they had the bobble snap, but we covered that up and didn't let that get into anything else. So solid A for me for the special teams.
Let's get into the defensive stats. This defense played 123 plays and only gave up 317 yards.
Stellar.
Passing, wow, 52 passes, 25 completions, 317 yards as previously as mentioned.
I think
is
that's
that a
wrong. It can't be
typo?
I say it can't be 317 for both of them, so I got to figure out what I did wrong there.
Wait. What are we? It's 317. What's the stat in question?
The total yards has got to be
Either
something
the total yards. Total yards
Okay.
has to be something different.
Yeah, net yards. It's got to be something else.
So 71
388,
attempts.
388 is what it should be.
388.
Total yards.
Yep.
So 71 attempts for 37 yards rushing. A lot of that was the sacks that we got on the quarterback. I believe Robinson got like 70-something yards in terms of rushing. He had that big
64.
big 64. He had that big run. Towards the end of regulation.
Yep. 37 yards.
Yeah. So 70 tackles, 44 solo, 7 sacks. I know you asked, was it 8? It was actually 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 1 interception by Knighton, and 8 QB hurries. My grade is an A-. I'm not mad if you give him a solid A. I mean, just pick an A that you want. I just think for what this defense did, I believe we talked about on a Facts and Nod, did we want to do 400 yards or are we going to give up under 400 yards for Bryce Young? And this defense, for the most part, did that. You can pin them deep with special teams, but you still got to get off the field and stop them. And Bama was coming into this game among the leaders in third down conversions. They struggled against this defense. The pressure we were getting, how well we were playing in coverage, they did an amazing job defensively, given the fact that we only scored 10 points in regulation. If you told anyone that Auburn is only going to score 10 points in regulation, many people would have Bama easily running away from this game because that means your defense is on the field a lot, right? So for them to do what they did, you have to show them love. I'm not mad at any A you give them. I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna stick with an A- here. But Ike, what is your grade when you consider what stellar job these guys did defensively?
Yeah, I'm going to go at A- as well. I mean, listen, you hate to see them give up such a long drive there at the end and put us in the position where we even have to go overtime. They were dead in the water when it came to overtime. It was just I didn't see any way that we could pull out an overtime victory. So A- overall, just the effort was tremendous. The coverage that they had on the back end, we talk a lot about how much pressure we put on Bryce Young and how many sacks that we ended up being able to generate with the blitz and such. But we had quite a few coverage sacks as well, where Bryce Young was back there for a long time looking for someone and no one was available to throw the ball to, or because of the way that we designed what we were doing in the back end, he didn't see people that were available to throw the ball to.
Right.
Like we took away his primary target and we took away that second read that he wanted to go to. And then once he got fleshed outside of the pocket, he didn't have anybody to go to. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that one of the guys who has the best rapport with him and Jamison Williams was gone. Hey, listen, it is what it is. But the defense did their job. Can't say enough about Roger McCreary. He was in the back pocket of every receiver. They talked about this on the broadcast when they talked to him pregame. He said he had a plan of how he was going to go up against Jamison Williams. He had a plan of how he was going to defend Michi, and he got an opportunity to get both of those plans implemented, and I think he did a hell of a job, outside of, getting beat for the final score. But listen, he was hurt before that, at the end of the fourth quarter. So he was just kind of gutting it out to get through whatever we had at the remainder during overtime or the end of the game and into overtime. So can't say enough about the job that he did. I will point this out. I talked about this. I don't know if I said it just to you guys or if I said it on one of the like the halftime broadcast. And I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I might just put a whole clip of them together when I see it about how McClain is always talking to running backs on like short yardage situations. Like he's pointing at him saying, hey, meet me in the hole right here. Like he's like telling him, he's like, look, me and you head up, right? Like we gonna do this. He's basically baiting them to say, I bet you can't run over me. Like, let's see who wins. He does that so much, and he did it in this game. And then he went and made the tackle right after that. I love it. I love to see it. I'm gonna miss watching that dude patrol the linebacking spot for this team, man. But yeah, A-, man. Defense did their job in this game.
Before we get to Mike G, I want to grab a couple of super chats and acknowledge some new members. Jazzy Joe says, War Eagle, y'all, the sports news world love that we lost. I hate everything that's not Auburn. Not a bad way to go there. I love Auburn, and so everything else can kick rocks. I'm with you. We got a new member, Graham Oliver. Welcome. Thanks for joining our community. We appreciate you. Jazzy Joe, back at you. Oh, and Harson said he wasn't satisfied with 6-6, so that's an upgrade.
Yeah, I agree.
Have to agree with you there. Clifford Ratney Jr., welcome, sir.
Coming back.
I think
he was a member before, so appreciate that.
Good to have you back, man. Mike G, how would you assess the defense? What's your grade?
I'm going with an A, too. Listen, this was more than I expected in any capacity against Bryce Young. I thought we did an excellent job. Let's be clear. They threw the ball way more than they wanted to in this game.
For sure.
They wanted to play ball control. There was a commitment to the run. And the running stats are a little skewed because college football statisticians, for some weird reason, count sacks against the rushing total. So both quarterbacks had like negative 40 yards rushing against their team's total based on the amount of sacks that took place in this game. But, it starts with Roger McCreary. He had a fantastic game, locking down his side of the field, pretty much just kind of sort of taking Mechie out of the game. I mean, they did a great job. So in the post game, I asked him, I'm like, bro, like, how did you do that? Can you tell me how you played so well? And he's a dog. Like, I think that he had a great game.
Miss him too.
Looking at the pass rush, Derek Hall, Leota, Marcus Harris in the mix down there, just kind of tearing it up, man.
Colby Wooden. I mean, God, you can just rattle off names.
Harris had a good game.
Yeah, Chandler Wooten, man. Listen, everybody
won't show up in the stat sheet as much, but freaking JJ Pegues and Tony Fair were like causing havoc down middle. Yeah, man.
Everybody came in. This was a whole team effort on defense. So hats off to those guys. Now, listen, I wasn't completely surprised because we played well in stretches this year, in long stretches. We had almost an 8-quarter stretch without allowing an offensive touchdown against SEC competition. But the pass defense was what really surprised me. PFF only recorded 3 drops at the end of the game for Bama. It felt like a lot more to me while I was watching it. I thought they had like 5 or 6 drops, but they only counted 3. I'll be interested to see if that number moves, as they continue to review film. But this was an outstanding defensive performance. Without this defense, we're not in this game. And hopefully what this is a blueprint for what you can do kind of moving forward. Now, if you don't have McCreary, I'm not sure some of these things work. Like having a lockdown corner, having a guy who can shut down a side of the field and take their best receiver out of the game definitely expands the things that you can do defensively.
Right.
Without him, I'm not sure that it's as effective. But there were a lot of guys, in there just doing things. Did we have a pass interference in this game? I don't think we had a pass. Did we have one?
Yes, I think we did have one.
I don't remember a PI call in this game, but the fact that we're struggling to remember if there was one is
right.
Right.
I know it was a close one that they didn't call.
There was a couple of them that could have been called.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
Erica
lie
said
about
no.
that.
But
I don't think so, though. Like, I'm trying to think of all of the penalties that we only had like 3 or 4 penalties called the entire game. So
yeah, I mean, it was a great defensive performance. I just thought these guys went out there and they played like this was
7.
their Super Bowl. This was their national championship. And they played with a lot of heart and pride. They executed. I thought that the defensive game plan was definitely good. I really believed in my mind that Bryce Young would tear us up if we blitzed him, because that's what all the advanced metrics suggested would happen. That's what he's done to everybody who's tried to come after him. He's good on the run. But because we were actually able to get to him before he could release the ball 7 times, it changed the narrative quite a bit. The sacks changed the narrative, not just the hurries, but this actual sacks means he did not get the ball off, and that played in our favor. So, A for me on the defense. Kudos to Derek Mason. I think that he's building something special. I know that he's been under a lot of heat this year, but we're not talking about coaching. But like I said, as a whole, I thought the game plan was good, and the execution of the game plan was good up until the very end. Any holes that we saw from them defensively, I think you attribute to the non-production that we saw on offense. Cannot be understated how that affects the other side of the ball. So this would have been, we could have done some things on the other side of the ball. We would have been talking about one of the greatest defensive performances ever.
For sure.
Yeah.
Easily.
Easily. So,
holding them scoreless for 3 quarters was amazing.
This was the defense that you talked about, Mike G, and predicted that we would see. It could be an all-time.
Yeah, I thought they would be all-time great, and it just seemed like I thought we had that kind of talent. What I did not account for was that the scheme adjustment would be so much, right? And I'll get to that when we talk about coaching, but it just adjusting to the scheme and what they were trying to do, it took them a whole year to catch on. I think that, and it took the coordinators a little bit to catch on to what these players do well. And, this is what a first year is going to look like for a lot of people. 6-6, 7-6, you know what I mean? 500 ball until you figure out what you have, and then you start building on that.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next phase of the game, which was the offense. Offense had actually a total of 55 plays for 159 yards. Finley threw 16 of 26 for 137 yards and a touchdown. He did throw an interception on one play late in the game. 29 carries for a total of 63 yards.
That's anemic.
Yeah, that's on life support.
I'm struggling with my grade here, because it's kind of hard to grade this team up until a certain point in this game. But when you see the stats and you see the fact that special teams and the defense consistently put you in situations where we could easily run away with this game offensively, and for us to punt the ball as many times as we did, and there were some cases we had just got a delay of game penalty just so we can kick the ball, give the punter room to kick it. That's how great our field position was, and we couldn't get it done. We had an opportunity to get a field goal and gave up the sack. We ended up punting the ball from there. There were so many opportunities for us to go up more than 10 on Bama, and we couldn't get it done. And then Finley gets hurt, and our already limited offense becomes even more limited. I'm proud of what they were able to do in overtime. My grade is somewhere between a D+ and a C-. I'm still struggling with which way I want to go here. Yeah, I have to give it a D+ when you consider the opportunities that we had. Those kids play hard. Kudos to Bama's defense. I mean, they were in the top 10 in rush defense, and they had a plan to stop Tank, Hunter, or whoever we decided to hand the ball off to. They did not respect that Finley was going to be able to run the ball, and they were correct. So Tank and those guys had to fight for tough yards. We struggled at times blocking and run blocking. Yeah, I'm just going to give it D plus when you consider the opportunities that we had. We were working with a short field for much of the game. So I'm going to give it a D plus. Yeah. That's harsh, I think, but I'm curious to hear what you guys got to say. Ike?
Yeah, so offensively, we just did not do enough offensively at all. And as always, it's difficult for me to separate what I feel like was poor play calling or strategic things offensively from the offensive performance. But let's just look at the plays that were called and how they were executed. Not very well. Yeah. I don't think that TJ Finley was particularly accurate in certain situations where he needed to be before getting hurt. I don't think the offensive line blocked particularly well in situations where they were being asked to do certain things to block. The receivers, on the other hand, I don't have any qualms with. We had 2 drops this game, one or two drops this game. I know Kobe Hudson had 1.
Hudson had 1. I have to go back and look. And what did advanced metrics say, Mike?
They only recorded 1 for Kobe Hudson, but I'm almost certain when they go back and look at it, they're going to look at that throw to Javaris and say it was a drop.
That defender got his hand in there, though.
Yeah, so 1, maybe 2 drops the whole game, right? So
go back and watch the film on that, and
I saw
see
I saw the replay like on the stadium, and it was well defended, but it was a absolute perfect pass. It was right where it had to be for him to catch it or nobody, and it hit his hands and he dropped it. The defender did not. His presence may have affected the play, but he did not physically make a play on the ball at all. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna go
overall, though, I think the receivers did well in this game. I just don't like how we executed the game plan. And then, of course, you get super one-dimensional once your quarterback doesn't have 2 legs. The interception that TJ Finley threw, I am not if you get your hands on it, you should catch it guy, right? Like, that's just not how I think about it. That was he threw that way too high and way too hot.
Right.
You've got to throw that into the chest of your receiver as opposed to throwing it up high. So I put that more on TJ than I do the receiver.
Agreed.
I just think overall the offense just did not do enough in this game, even in small spurts. Like a couple of additional first downs in this game is way different, right? Not even points. I'm not even talking points here. I just mean literally going and getting 10 yards when you get the ball at the 45-yard line would have changed not just the complexion of the game, but how much time was left at the end of the game, right? All that being said, I'm going to have to give a D to the offense. I just don't think the offense played well enough. 159 yards against a Bama defense that has been suspect. You've got to find a way to make it work, and we just did not do that. Again, play calling aside, if we execute the plays that are called, we have a better outcome. And I'll get to that portion later. But I just think that we've got to do a better job executing offensively, and we just didn't do that. So I'm going to have to give a D to offense.
I know while we wait on Mike G to come back. There's Mike G. Mike, you're great for the offense.
You know what? Like, I'm not as hard as you guys. I'm giving the offense a C- in here. Yeah, I see the chat here. I just think it's important to separate coaching from what they actually did on the field. So what they were being asked to execute versus what they actually executed. Starting with the quarterback, I thought that TJ Finley did what he could behind. This is one of the first games in the last stretch where I felt like the offensive line did actually let the quarterback down. There was a ton of pressure. There was a ton of pressure on him this whole game, and it was tough. I don't know why there weren't more quick pass options for him under the circumstances. It just seemed like they were giving him these reads that were but he was well in excess of under pressure, more than 30% of his dropbacks. So that was in this game. That was always going to be kind of tough for him. From a running standpoint, there was a commitment to the run. And I stress the only reason that we were able to continue running the ball at the rate that we were running it, or the attempts, as far as attempts are concerned, is because Bama did not do much offensively against us, or they would have had to abandon that game plan earlier. But they, just like every other team we played, decided don't let Tank Bigsby beat you. And they executed that. Now, we were able to do that to their running back as well for the most part, but it just came down to, there were some good plays made out there against a team like this in a game like this. The opportunities to make plays may be few. Now, I thought, again, Finley threw some balls out there. The one interception he had bounced off Kobe's hands. So, I don't know if they're counting that as the drop or whatever. He threw one to Kobe. It may have been a little hot. I have to go back and look at the film. But, from what I could see, it hit him in the hands. He didn't catch it, and then it got intercepted. So I don't have too many qualms with TJ Finley in this game in his second start, which was the Iron Bowl. Tank offensively, man, I can't get over not getting down inbounds for a second-year player in that scenario. So regardless of whether the coaches actually told him or not, I'm in my mind, I just feel like you got to know the one thing you could not do in that situation is stop the clock for Bama.
Right.
Make them burn their timeout. Now, that doesn't mean that we win the game, but who knows? If they have to burn their time out there and burn a few more seconds off the clock, maybe it turns out differently. So I think that's a learning for this coaching staff, which I had a lot of questions about this for the previous coaching staff about like situational awareness. Why don't players know what they're supposed to be doing in certain end game situations?
Yeah.
So he kind of pulls this grade down for me a lot, on that one play, understanding that, again, opportunities were far. I don't think it's his fault that we couldn't run the ball. I don't. It was tough on both sides of the ball for everybody offensively, but for both teams. So it's a C for me. There weren't going to be a lot of opportunities out here, and I thought that there were some plays that if we make them, we're in great shape to either kick a field goal and get that extra point. If DeVar Johnson catches that dime that TJ Finley throws. Now, we've talked a lot about drops this season. So let's keep that same energy for this quarterback. Those are catches you have to make for this quarterback because he can't go scramble and get you 20 yards. When he drops a dime, it's extra important that you catch it. We didn't. And that was a throw that would have put us clean into, I don't know how long he runs after he catches that, but we would have definitely been in field goal range. Those 3 points changed the complexion of this game.
Yeah.
So we were close to some things. That's why I can't go D. Exactly. But I don't know. It was just tough. It was tough to watch offensively. Not being able to it just felt like what we've seen for a long time at Auburn. Great defense and the inability to score the basic amount of points to win a game, I think is a symptom of what was left because that didn't start this year. That's been the problem. That's what we complained about with this offense. I think it's a system of what was left and what needed to be fixed with this offense. C for me. C minus.
Okay. Let's give away a T-shirt, shall we?
Oh, it's that time.
And how many do we have?
I hadn't even been looking. Let's see. Where is my giveaway thing? 33.
Hashtag get your weight up in the comments, guys. So, and you got to keep in mind not everyone's commenting now, so of course it's going to be a little bit lower than normal. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, if you realize that you can't comment, it's because you're not a member. Sad day for you.
Yeah,
We definitely appreciate everyone who stopped in here to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. You know what? While we're talking about giveaways, I want to give a special
Clifford
shout
Raddy's
out.
like, draw now while I still have a good chance.
I want to give a special shout out to all our raffle winners this year.
Julian needs a TV. You guys are hilarious.
We might give one away. Listen, if y'all sign up for these memberships, you never know what we'll give away. We gave away tickets all season long, and guys, I wanted to get basketball tickets for you guys, but they are sold out of season tickets to Auburn basketball. I've never thought I'd utter that sentence ever in my life, but season basketball tickets are completely sold out. We still might get some tickets donated to us to certain games. You know, the games are a little bit harder to plan for in basketball because they're during the week. But, you know, if we get some, we'll definitely raffle them off to you guys for sure.
Sidebar, Julia, you really broke your TV, Julia? Like that? I know we've been joking, but you actually threw my remote control at it.
Yeah, that's a legitimate. I think that's a legitimate question to ask, right? I mean, did you break it?
Did you really break it? All right.
Let's
You ready?
just hit this. Yeah, let's do this. See who's gonna win this time.
Jay Bonham got in there right. We dropped it quickly. Jay was trying to drop his
Steve
King.
Steve.
Yeah.
You know what you need to do, King. You need to let us know you are here.
Holler us in the
Oh,
chat.
she said she posted it on Instagram and tagged us. I gotta go check this out.
gotta go check that out.
I gotta go see that. I gotta go see that.
You guys continue with what you got going on.
Steve, are you here, Steve? We'll wait up and give you some instructions real quick, but we gotta hear from you. Everyone's saying you're gone, Steve.
He gone.
All right, let's move on. We'll Steve.
Chase says check the spreadsheet.
Steve King right here.
Julia,
Hey,
you must be like
Steve is
you
here.
must be have
So,
your
Steve,
stuff set to private.
Email us, Steve, business@thewarreport.com. That's business@thewarreport.com. Send us your t-shirt size and your address, and we will get that out to you. Please don't forget the t-shirt size. It's important. If you do not put a t-shirt size in there, I will not ask you. I will just send you a schmedium, and you're going to have to deal with it. So.
All right. Well, let's pick up where we left off, guys. Let's get on to let's get on to coaching.
Yeah.
Bama had 18 first downs to. You're so petty.
You childish. Oh, you childish. Oh, you so childish.
I forgot I did it till it was up on the screen.
You are
That's
so
childish.
freaking petty, and I love it.
Oh God.
I love all of it. That's awesome, by the way. Bama had 18 first downs for the little man, and Brian Harson's Tigers had 11. Bama got a lot of penalties in this game and could have gotten a few more. That was definitely that missed call, and I believe what the guy who they had on CBS saying about the face mask call, I think it was in overtime.
Yeah.
That
This was
anytime you
before
grab an
overtime.
opening, well, that was two. That was one before overtime, and then there was one in overtime where Take's face
Grab
just
his ear hole.
turned. Yeah. So if you grab any hole of a helmet and use that to bring a guy down, they should call that. So it should have been a few more penalties, but you could have argued there could have been a few more penalties on our side as well. But time of possession, we actually won that by a minute. Third down conversions, again, Bama came into this game among the nation's best, but went 8 of 22. And a good bit of those was on that final drive, too. We went 5 of 18. Bama went 1 for 4. That one conversion came on that last drive of regulation. And in the red zone, both teams went 3 of 4. What keeps this grade from being lower for me is the job that Derek Mason did in this game with this game plan. Learned from Mississippi State and said, you know what? We're going to go after Bryce Young early and often. We're going to play bump and run coverage. We're going to be aggressive. And it was a solid game plan. I know some people were arguing that we kind of went soft at some points late in regulation. But I love the game plan that we had here. I thought we made some good personnel decisions in terms of special teams, as Ike mentioned earlier. So there was a lot to like there. Offensively, I felt like we wanted to establish the run, and we were really conservative based off of what the defense was doing. I believe we had some opportunities, and we had an opportunity to take some shots, to do some things differently offensively, but we were very conservative at times. Then there's TJ Finley getting injured, and the way we kept him in, not having anyone prepared behind Finley that we had enough confidence or faith in to at least some packages, something to move the change, because in some of these drives, all we needed was a first down because the field position was that good.
All right.
The decision towards the end of the game in terms of not going for it on 3rd and 2 to get it, those are things that came back to bite us, given the job that we did defensively. Like I said, the defense pulls this. It keeps this from falling lower than perhaps it would have been. But I'm giving the coaching a C- here. There was just some decisions on offense that I felt came back to bite us. We still have not addressed the issue of putting up points in the second half. I think, Ike, you mentioned it yesterday. Going back to Ole Miss, we've scored a total of 15 points in the second half. We still haven't figured that out. And not having someone ready to go when your number one QB gets injured, limiting your offense. Tough calls, tough decisions. So I'm going to go C-, but I think the job that Mason did kept this from falling lower. Mike G, what do you have, man?
My grade is going to be a little surprising. I'm actually going with a B- in this game on coaching. That's how well I think we played defensively and how well the defensive game plan was executed for as long as they possibly could have executed it. So I've said enough talking about the defense. A lot of the execution we saw, I thought, was a result of a good game plan against Bryce Young, to not let him sit back there and carve us up, and the fact that we were actually able to get to him. Some of those blitzes looked very creative from the press box. You know, like guys were coming up to the line. I thought we confused him a little bit, and I was like, I didn't know who was coming. I said, are we bringing pressure or are we not? And sometimes we didn't, and we dropped back into coverage, and we had great coverage. I thought they did a good job mixing up looks defensively and putting it in a place where we could just confuse this quarterback just enough to neutralize him and keep him from tearing us up. We did not allow a whole lot on the ground until the end of the game, which was also something that was super positive for us. And I'm looking back at it. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, this was not bad. Now, offensively, it was tough. And this kind of makes me want to go to a C when I start talking about the offense. I was enamored with what we did defensively from a scheme standpoint. Offensively, I cannot get over not having backups ready to play. I just can't, guys. I mean, I think, and people will say I'm being soft on Finley. Like, I just feel like the preparation of the backups, the issue is pervasive amongst the whole. It seems like we put all our eggs in one basket. And then worst case has to happen before we'll start preparing as if worst case could happen. So last week, what did we do? At kicker, we put all our eggs in one basket and it didn't work. Last week. This week, they actually split it up and did some of the things that, Ike had pointed out that we've been talking about. Like, dude, put McGuire on kickoffs and little things that end up being the difference in tight games. So offensively, it was really disappointing. Now there's a large contingent of people who are on the Bobo gotta go train, and but they did create some opportunities there. I just think offensively it was tough, man. It was tough to watch. Thinking if we could have just done one more thing, in so many spots, you win that game in regulation. Now, I don't know about you guys. Did you guys see the holding call on Jarquez Hunter's big run?
No.
I couldn't see it. I was
No,
like,
there
man,
was no
like,
holding call. That was a flop, 100%.
I was like, who did they call holding on?
You're muted, C. Yeah, it's correct. It's crap.
I mean, they called it on Fromm, but Fromm had the guy blocked, and you can instantly see the way he just jerked himself back as if he got pushed back. There was no way you were blocking someone and they do that. Like he was had his guy blocked, and he went down as Hunter went by, hoping that he could get the refs to throw the flag, and it worked. And it worked.
It was crap. It was crap.
I just can't get over again the preparation for worst case scenario. Like, what if TJ Finley could not have gone? Now look what he did in those overtime. He threw some dimes in that overtime. The one to Landon King,
Amazing catch.
Right,
amazing catch.
I thought he was pinpoint accurate on some of the short throws that he made in that game. But if he can't go, were we really gonna put Grant Loy in? I can't get over that. I really can't get over that.
I think they was. This is why they didn't.
Yeah, I listen, man, love you, coach, but I will not agree with that decision at all. You got a guy who can't burn a red shirt and has an arm and can throw and can go out there for maybe just a couple plays and just be a football player. And I would take him over Grant Lloyd because he's been in your system for a year now. Any day. So that is disappointing. I mean, I'm talking myself down to a C+ now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a C+. Like, when I start thinking about offensively what we needed to do in this game, they created some opportunities where we just didn't execute. But ultimately, I don't think we were as prepared offensively as we were defensively for this one.
Agreed.
And, Bo wasn't in there and Carlson wasn't in there. And I'm like, listen, you just don't get many passes from me on that stuff because injuries happen. And if you want to be an elite team, you have to have guys who can come and step in for starters and do 85% of what they can do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's just really tough to watch there. And I mean, I'm not blaming refereeing, but the refs didn't help us either, man. Like, I thought there was an intentional grounding that looked pretty clear to me that they didn't call on the last drive. And there were just some questionable things out there in a tight game where, maybe it does change the loss of down, may change the momentum of the game a little bit. Right? That just didn't happen in their favor. So you got to coach a game that doesn't leave you in those type of situations where those calls affect you. I don't think they did. I don't think they accomplished that. In my talk with Coach Harsin post game, I think that he knows they didn't accomplish that. Right. And sometimes my hope for them is sometimes you learn more from the losses than you do from the wins. And that's my glass half full on this. I think that they learned a lot from this loss, this season in general. And they'll take that into the offseason and have tons of stuff to work on and get this thing corrected. But I don't believe we go into next season doing a lot of what we saw offensively last night. I think they figure it out.
Talk to me, Ike. What's your grade?
Derek Mason, excellent job, sir. I think you had this defense prepared from the very first snap. They looked angry. They looked hungry. They executed the blitzes well. There's not many things I can say poorly about the game plan we had defensively. We'll move on. Mike Bobo. I didn't like anything. I didn't like a single thing that we did offensively. I think that we were committed to the run a game late. And in our commitment to the run, we didn't take advantage of the fact that we looked like we were going to be committed to the run by using more early play action on early downs.
Yeah.
I still, for the life of me, don't understand why you call plays that require mobility from your quarterback once your quarterback's injured. You did the same thing with Bo Nix. You did the same thing with TJ Finley. Don't understand that, sir. Never will understand it. I would love to ask you that question one day. Coach Brian Harsin, I don't understand why you watch this happen and don't step in and do anything about that. I don't actually understand the aggressiveness that you showed the game before in going for it on fourth down and doing the 2-point conversion, why you didn't show that same aggressiveness in the first overtime after we scored. Just lay it out there on the line. Your defense is gassed. Your quarterback's hurt. Look, let's go down swinging right here.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
I don't understand not going to a backup quarterback or something different when TJ Finley gets hurt. I don't know. So this is one thing I will say negatively, at least about the defense. And I think Mason's going to have to come down from the booth after this year. The defense looked good for the majority of the game. On that last drive, the defensive line looked confused a lot and was not lining up because the play calls were coming in slowly. And so they weren't even down in their stance sometimes when the ball was being snapped. Yeah. So we've got to figure out either how to get that strategic calling of plays in more quickly, or you've got to come down from that booth and be there on the sidelines and giving people that energy. Put somebody else up there in the booth who's got eyes in the sky. You get down there on the side. If you're going to be the person calling it, then let that call come from you immediately so we can get in there and we can go faster. From a coaching standpoint, preparation-wise, it sucked offensively. Execution-wise and play calling on the spot sucked offensively. Defensively, preparation was good. Execution, decent up until the end. Some questionable decision making down the stretch. Overall, I'm going to have to land at a C- on the coaching. And again, that gets pulled way up by Derek Mason. Way up. Trust me. Yeah. Absent of Derek Mason, there's a lot to be desired about what we did in this plan. And props to Coach Brian Harsin for inspiring the team to get to this place where we were, literally one play away from making it happen. But I think down the stretch, we've just got to make some different decisions that place us in the most optimal position to win that ball game, namely, again, the first overtime. Just go for two right then, get your best 2-point conversion play. And
clearly we had one.
Let your nuts hang, man. Listen, It is what it is. You fought this hard. Let your nuts hang one more time. And we just didn't do that. So, C-.
I'll add, though, listen, no coach in college football is immune to this, the type of decision-making that has to be made in tight games. It's easy watching it on TV. I always wonder, if I were on the sideline, how does it feel differently? What is the communication? Do you have somebody in the booth who's communicating with you, watching a TV feed and telling you, hey man, here's your situation, right? Like calling in situations for you. Because that's what it seems clear to us from the perch that we're watching it on, but I'm sure it feels differently on the field. And I think maybe that I don't know how much of that they got into at Boise while he was head coach, but this was a learning experience for them all the way around this year. So I hope that they take those learnings into this offseason, get organized, figure out a way to call in defensive plays like Ike is saying. Figure out whether you're best served with your coordinators in the booth or on the field. Really learn from all the deficiencies that you had in year one, and then take that into year two. Play at the same level, but on the other side. You're talking about so many games where you're like 2 or 3 plays away from this team being 10-2. Right? Like this was we were not far off. Now you're going to lose some talent this year. They've got some, work to do in holding on to people and selling a vision and a plan for the future so kids don't transfer out. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I want to be somewhat understanding in that coaches are humans too, and they make mistakes and they learn and they grow just like we expect players to learn and grow. This staff came from Boise. It doesn't mean that they're not right for the job, right? But this isn't Boise, and this is the SEC. It's not the Mountain West, right? So everybody's got smoke for you every week. How many times have we made picks, guys, saying there's no way LSU wins this game or Florida wins this game, and then they win it? Because the talent is everywhere. And all these SEC teams recruit, and they spend top dollar on facilities and coaching. And the guys across from you have coaches too, right? They got money too. They got all the advantages that you have and maybe more. So no one school really has that big an advantage over everybody else. It's either you're getting it done or you're not. And I feel that Brian Harsin learned that in his first year. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's Julia's TV screen right there.
Oh man.
wow.
Oh, Julia. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks like you threw a strike.
We should have had Julia
You're
out
accurate.
there
You're
replacing
accurate.
TJ Finley.
Yeah. Throwing dimes at the TV. All right. Well, listen, guys, let us know, what are your grades? Some of you guys have already mentioned it, those of you watching live, but if you're watching on replay, what are your grades for what you saw? Special teams, offense, defense, coaching. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. Now, guys, let's talk about what we saw.
What did we see?
I gave this guy a hard time
Yeah.
earlier in the year, so of course I got to circle back around and say congratulations to Harbaugh for getting that monkey off of your back. You're no longer 0 for Ohio.
Okay, all right. He ain't won the Big Ten championship yet.
Well, not yet, but he has not beaten Ohio since his time there, and that was an issue. And he took advantage of it, and I believe they play Iowa because they were going to play Wisconsin, who lost to Minnesota. So now Michigan has to finish the job and beat Iowa, who's not an easy out, in the Big Ten championship. And he gets an opportunity to punch his ticket into the playoff. The power running in that game was impressive. Their defense has been impressive all season. And that's kind of a staple for Harbaugh. Power running game, good defense. And so that was on full display, and he was able to beat Ohio State for the first time during his tenure. So I'm curious to see what they do moving forward. Like you said, Mike G, they can still blow it in the championship game, but he's gotten this far so far. So kudos to him. He won a big game. Now you got a few more big ones in front of you. Let's see what you do. Mike, what you got, man? What you saw?
I saw that the SEC is as competitive as it's ever been. Guys, this year was pretty epic in terms of upsets and things happening. Now, we get accused of being top heavy a lot, where a few teams are really good and then the bottom of the conference is just really, really bad. This year, that was not the case. It was 13 teams and then Vanderbilt. And there were some tough games played all year. And, kudos to those guys at Florida, man. They went out and they got a bowl game. I picked them. I picked them to do it. LSU, kudos to those guys with their lame duck coach. They went out and got themselves a bowl game too. The Fighting Orgerons got a bowl game in what has been a disaster of a year for them against a top 15 team.
Yeah.
Right, so it's tough. Kentucky had a 9-3 season, guys. Kentucky had a 9-3 season. Now Georgia obviously is the crown jewel of the conference. Bama has been Bama. Texas A&M. I think they had a pretty good season, all things considered, based on what they lost. They lost their whole offensive line in the offseason, and then they lost their starting quarterback to start the year. So Jimbo Fisher has done a great job there. The SEC. has brought in Mike Leach. He pulled some surprises. Will Rogers looks good. Matt Corral, Ole Miss. We have top-notch coaching all over this conference right now. This is as competitive as I've seen it not that it's usually competitive, but I'm telling you, this is the best I've seen in a really long time. Going into next year, just who do you pick, right? Like in the East or in the West? Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we could see a lot of surprises. People will go with what they know, and they'll say Bama or Georgia is going to win the conference and blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, I think in the years to come, we're going to see even more parity based on the coaching hires that were made over the last few years and the competitiveness between them and the chess matches that we're going to see are going to be absolutely epic. 13 out of 14 teams in the conference making a bowl game is an absolute record. Outstanding. So now I don't know how many of these bowl games we're going to win. We might end up having the worst bowl record ever because we got so many teams in. But it'll be interesting to watch this season. And you know what? Because we're picking bowl games on our pick'em, it gives us 13 more games to pick.
Yeah.
Before we crown a prediction winner, which means I can still come back and win this thing, baby. I can do it.
You could. You could.
Yeah,
I don't think you will, but you could.
Yeah,
all right.
Spoiler alert, I'm picking all the SEC teams to win except Florida. All right.
No. But before we get to you, Ike, appreciate that, Mike G. Before we get to you, let's grab this super chat by Exclusive TV. I know I'm late, but Auburn all in all played good. Just have to capitalize on offense next game and next year. True story. Ike, what did you see, sir?
What I saw was that Cincinnati still has an opportunity to get snubbed here.
Really?
Yeah, their fate is in the hands of Georgia. If Georgia goes out here and lays an egg in the SEC championship and chokes, Bama's getting in.
Okay.
And Cincy's going to get snubbed again. They're going to put Oklahoma in there likely. They're going to put the Big Ten champ in, and they're going to put both SEC teams in. And Cincy's going to be on the outside looking in.
Really?
I firmly believe that. If Bama beats Georgia, both Bama and Georgia get in.
Yeah. They're definitely putting two SEC teams in if that happens.
And then I don't think that they put Cincy in over the Big Ten champ. Well, so again, it's still like Michigan has to win the Big Ten championship, right? If they lose the Big Ten championship, then that changes as well. But I think one loss Big Ten champ, one loss SEC champ, one loss SEC runner-up, one loss Big 12 champ, all get in over Cincy.
Do you think they put Oklahoma State in ahead?
Right.
Oklahoma State's only lost one game, right?
They only lost one game.
They're 11-1, and Oklahoma is 10-2. So Oklahoma is down at. I mean,
they're out.
So it would have to be Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, you're right. Yeah, I forgot they would just beat them. So yeah, Oklahoma State. But I'm just saying the Big 12 champ with one loss, I still think gets in over Cincinnati.
Who they play? Who does Oklahoma State play? Baylor this week.
I mean that would be a marquee win because that's a top 10 win that they would tack onto their resume. So is a one-loss Oklahoma State ending the season with a top 10 win better than a undefeated Cincinnati? I think you're right. I think there is a good chance they could get snubbed.
Yeah. But like I said, their fate is in the hands of these championship games. Like if everyone who is in the lead for the championship with one loss wins, and then Georgia
they have to be Georgia fans.
Yeah, they need Georgia to win because if Georgia loses, they're done.
Yeah, they're still in. And then somebody from the back of the pack. So you have Georgia, presumably Michigan, Alabama in. And then the question becomes, do you jump Notre Dame or Oklahoma State over them?
Notre Dame can't. They can't jump Notre Dame because Cincy beat them.
Correct. Yeah. So Notre Dame's done. That leaves Oklahoma State or Baylor to jump from the 7 or 8 spot all the way up into the 4th
How many
spot.
losses does Baylor currently have?
They have 2. They have 2. They're 9-2. So I think it has to be Oklahoma State.
It's got to be Oklahoma State. Yeah. So if Oklahoma State wins, Michigan wins, and Bama wins, Cincy's out, in my opinion. Sad state of affair. Now I don't. think
the only way Notre Dame
that Georgia loses.
Go ahead.
But I said I don't think it's likely that Georgia loses, but that's still the scenario that if Georgia loses, they're going to put both of them in. Then your Big 12 champion, if it's got to be Oklahoma State if they win, and it's got to be Michigan if they win.
And let's be clear. This would not be the first time they have put a team into the top 4 going into the final week of the season just to bump them out after the championship games have been played.
Yeah, I mean,
they've done that before.
That's the advantage to playing a championship game. That's why the Big 12 fought to add teams to their conference, because without that championship game, they were going to get shut out of the playoff almost every year. You need that extra game against, hopefully, a good opponent, because imagine Michigan were in their position right now where they needed a big win, but the other side of the conference, they're playing a weak team and their conference championship. So it would not bolster their resume. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, you're sitting there. 2 top 10 teams are going to play each other.
Right.
And if Oklahoma State wins convincingly against a team that they ranked 8th going into this week, they'll presumably be higher as well, too, after we see the college football playoff rankings come out Tuesday.
Strength of schedule is going to kill them, man. Like I said, they can. There is still a scenario here where Cincinnati does not get into this playoff.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I agree. Now listen, I'm all about it because I told B they were not getting in. So I like being right, and I don't like Cincinnati. So we'll see what happens there.
You said you don't like Cincinnati?
No, I just don't. I'm not a go for the Cinderella. Unless Auburn's the Cinderella, I guess. I'm not like I like the little guys to stay little and go away. I just think
it's funny when you say you don't like someone because you say that a lot.
I'm gonna be honest. There aren't a lot of teams around college football that I actually like that are not named Auburn.
Right. Yeah. So
Cincinnati, I dislike a lot of them. So
which is why I think it's funny when either used to be like, yeah, I don't like them. But who do you like?
I don't like Cincinnati.
It's a very short list of teams I like. Starts with Auburn and ends with Auburn.
There you go.
Let me ask you this.
UAB, I got love for UAB because they're the hometown team. That's about it.
Is there any scenario where Bama loses a close SEC championship game and still gets into
2 losses, they're done. Yeah, okay. we could have put the nail in Bama's coffin last night, and we didn't.
So what does your playoff look like after a Bama loss in the SEC championship game?
Cincinnati's in.
Yeah.
Okay. Georgia's in. Okay. The Big 10, the Big 12 champ is in regardless. Then
Big
right,
10,
like even with 2 losses, I think your Big 12 champ gets in.
And then
Michigan has to win.
Michigan's got to win.
Michigan has to win.
I don't think that they lose and they're still in. Now, that's a scenario where they could possibly get in. Is if Michigan were to lose and Bama had lost and they only have 2 losses, but the only losses they have are Texas A&M and Georgia, they could possibly still sneak in that scenario.
Drama, maximum drama.
Yeah, so Bama still has a chance to get into the playoff, even losing next week.
You're right. You're very right. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it has to be chaos this upcoming weekend.
Yeah,
pure chaos for that.
I want it. I want bedlam. I want it all. If we're not going to get in, I want to see everybody fail. Nobody gets a playoff spot.
Burn it all down.
Yeah, burn it all down.
All right, Mike G.
I hope Cincy wins the national title above everybody if we don't get in, since we're not in now.
Yeah, facts.
Just beat Georgia in the playoff and make them cry.
Well, go ahead and take us on out, Mike G.
Listen, man, become an insider. This is a great thing to do. We're going to be making a lot of stuff insider only, so you definitely want to be a part of our community here this off season. We are the hardest working content providers, January to July. Guys, nobody is working harder for you than the War Rapport, bringing you more access, more interviews, more content than anybody out there. So shout out to all our sponsors who support us. Shout out to you guys who sign up for these insider memberships, which is kind of like a form of sponsorship, really. It gives you guys a small piece of the pie, but it helps us quite a bit when the community comes together and we do all the heavy lifting as a group rather than one person trying to carry it all. So $3.99, $5.99, sign up, supporter, insider level. Also, help us help somebody else. We support the Lee County Humane Society in their mission to save all the puppies. Hashtag save all the puppies. 50 cents on every dollar that you donate to our GoFundMe in the About section of our YouTube channel helps us help them in their mission to save all the puppies. So please go there. Congratulations to our raffle winners. If you didn't win, you can just buy one. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel, or you can go to thewarreport.com and it will take you directly to our merch store. Check us out on podcasts. We are on Spotify, Apple podcasts, Podbean, SoundCloud, all that jazz, man. We are there. If you like listening to the War Rapport, if you can't catch us live and you just want to listen to it on replay, catch us out there. We're putting a lot. We're going to be putting more of our content on podcasts in this coming year, in the coming months. So we're growing. We appreciate you guys' support. Shout out to our sponsor, BUSR. Bet with confidence at BUSR.com/rapport. Support us by supporting our sponsors. Doesn't matter, guys, if you just sign up for an account and you never use it, but you use it to look at lines, just get information. There's a lot of good information on there. But if you do place a bet a year or 10 bets a year, we got Betting with B Will. He's giving you guys lines on things. This is a great way to get involved and maybe win a little money, have some fun if gambling's a pastime for you. So we encourage a responsible gambling, but do your gambling at BUSR.com/rapport. Last but not least, shout out to our title sponsor, University Ace Hardware. You can go find them at 2101 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. They're over there by the new movie theater. Love Ace Hardware. Ace is the place for all your War Rapport needs as well, too. So when you break something, go to Ace, buy some tools, fix it. You're welcome.
That does not work on TVs, Julius.
Yeah, it won't work on your TV.
Yeah, I think, yeah. You just need a new TV. Guys, appreciate you hanging out with us. Please be sure on your way out, whether you're watching live or on the replay, share this video, guys. Social media, do the necessary. Use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Add us if you're on Twitter. Also, get the likes up. Please be sure to like this video. And if you haven't done so already, if you're watching from afar, subscribe to our channel. We have content coming out all throughout the week that will serve your Auburn needs. And if you want to check us out on social media, guys, you can find us at The War Rapport on Instagram and Twitter. We are TW Rapport on TikTok. Guys, we'll definitely see you this week. We have a lot of stuff to cover, so definitely want to hang around, but enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And as always, War Eagle.